One of the hottest new teams in WCPW. They come to us all the way from Germany. Tarkan Aslan and Lucky Kid, the Jungen Löwen.
The following tag team match is set for one fall. Making their way to the ring from Germany, they are the tag team combination of Lucky Kid and Tarkan Aslan.
The Jungen Löwen. They took the tag team champions, the War Machine, to the limit a couple of weeks ago here on Loaded. You ain't kidding. Having won the right to face the War Machine in a three-way match, 3 weeks ago, against South Coast Connection and these gentlemen. They were the first ever WCPW Tag Team Champions, and they're here in Sheffield.
Making their way to the ring, they are the tag team combination of Johnny Moss and Liam Slater. Slater and Moss!
Moss and Slater, as I said, the first ever tag team champions. They lost the belts back in February, and since then there's been a litany of injuries to one or the other of them, but they can get right back on track here in the tag team division if they can beat the Jungen Löwen.
Look at the size of Johnny Moss, the Cumbrian Man Mountain himself, back in action on Loaded.
Moss has taken Liam Slater under his wing for the past year. Slater has learned so much from being teamed with this huge mountain of a man, Johnny Moss. Moss, of course, runs his own wrestling school in Cumbria, and Slater, although he's not a trainee by any means, you're always learning as a professional wrestler, and Slater has certainly learned a lot from Moss.
Well, Moss has taught Liam Slater everything Slater knows, but I would suggest that the Jungen Löwen here may learn a thing or two from Moss also.
It's the first of two tag team matches, of course, coming up on tonight's Loaded. El Ligero and the prestigious one, Joe Hendry, going to take on the South Coast Connection a little bit later on. And what about our main event? Internet title on the line. Gabriel Kidd defends against Zack Sabre Jr. Join the conversation with us. Tell us what you think about all of those upcoming matches using the hashtag Loaded.
You talk about titles in WCPW. You referenced it, Dave. Moss and Slater want to get back in the hunt for that tag gold.
Big elbow from Moss. Everything he does, an elbow drop, which is a fairly standard move in a wrestling match, but when it comes from Johnny Moss, it's killer.
I have looked into the eye of the monster that is Moss, and I have quaked in my boots. Moss is always to be reckoned with, and look, Lucky Kid and Tarkan Aslan already finding that out here.
Lucky Kid, by the way, was one of the final 16 in the Pro Wrestling World Cup. Emerged from those German qualifiers, eventually beaten by Japan's Hiromu Takahashi, but certainly did himself no discredit whatsoever. Incredible showing from Lucky Kid.
You have to believe if Moss hadn't suffered some injuries, he may well have been in the reckoning for the Pro Wrestling World Cup himself.
Meanwhile, while Moss was out with that recurring injury, Slater has had another opportunity at the tag team titles, held, as we know, by War Machine. Slater, in Moss's absence, teamed with Moose a few weeks ago on Loaded and did pretty well, but obviously against the War Machine, who are the most dominant team in the world, you have to be absolutely able to match them, and I'm not sure anyone in the world can.
No War Machine rules here, though. This is straight up tag team action, classic traditional style, and this favours the first ever WCPW tag champs, Moss and Slater.
Speaking of War Machine, we know that they are due to face the Young Bucks for the WCPW Tag Team Championships in just a week and a half at Refuse to Lose, Monday, October 2nd on pay-per-view. That is going to be an incredible confrontation.
Live on pay-per-view. You cannot get a bigger tag team title match than that one. We're going to see it at Refuse to Lose, but right now Johnny Moss and Liam Slater showing they haven't lost any chemistry in Moss's absence.
Moss is able clearly to physically dominate Lucky Kid. The size of Johnny Moss. Looks like he's just cut from granite.
The size of the chest, the arms, the shoulders, the legs.
Short arm clothesline there from Moss, and I think Kid landed hard on his head.
Muscled up Kid there. Tarkan Aslan couldn't believe it from the ring apron.
Moss will go for the cover. Kid kicks out. You know, actually, there are some parallels between these two teams. Aslan has been something of a mentor for Lucky Kid in the same way Moss has for Slater, so these two teams understand each other quite well. As Slater goes for the suplex, he'll hold on and swing through. Go for a second one, or will he? This time he rolls through, and now he's got a Kimura lock applied to Lucky Kid.
Never discount the Jungen Löwen. They took War Machine to their limits. An incredibly impressive performance. But now they are at the bottom of the ladder for the tag gold. They want to work their way up rung by rung, starting with the first tag team champions.
Now, see, there's some ring smarts from Liam Slater that you wouldn't necessarily expect from a man as young as him. You see how he got Lucky Kid in the full Nelson, not to try and force a submission, but to drag Lucky Kid back to Moss and Slater's own corner. Only worked temporarily, though, because Kid now has made it and tagged in Aslan.
Tarkan Aslan versus Johnny Moss here. Aslan will have seen what Moss did to Lucky Kid. And more punishment from Moss being dished out here on Loaded.
Aslan and Kid, the Jungen Löwen, have been tag team champions throughout much of continental Europe, including WXW and HCW in Hungary. Not to mention their home promotion of GWF.
Well, they're world travelled, but so is Johnny Moss, and he wants to give some of that worldly advice to young athletes like Liam Slater. It works a treat. This is a combination of experience and youthful exuberance that works. Just plain works.
Liam Slater is one of those guys who's had an absolute breakout year since he joined the WCPW roster. Another man you could say that of, by the way, of course, is Gabriel Kidd.
Well, we'll see Kidd later on. Here on Loaded.
It's our main event, the internet title on the line against Zack Sabre Jr. It'll be the third time those two have met this year.
The Kidd's had some success, but right now Johnny Moss having a lot of success with Tarkan Aslan.
Gut wrench from Moss. Again, he'll cover him. He didn't hook the leg, but when you've got someone the size of Moss lying across your chest.
But look at what's happening here, Dave Bradshaw. The quick tags from the first ever tag team champions. They look as though they haven't missed a beat in Moss's absence through injury.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's very impressive as well, because, as we said, they haven't actually been able to team very often, given that first Moss was injured, then Slater, then Moss again.
On a series of unfortunate events.
And Slater, again, you see how he's got Tarkan Aslan by the arm. I thought he was going to tag Moss, but in the end he's decided to stay in there himself. Aslan counters. Maybe that was a mistake by Slater. Oh! Aslan stomping on the face of this young Yorkshireman, Liam Slater.
Now systematic destruction from Tarkan Aslan. Now tagging in Lucky Kid. Quick tags from the Jungen Löwen.
So much energy from Lucky Kid. Sometimes I think he's doing himself a disservice with his name, and I'm not sure there's much luck about it. He's a very talented young wrestler.
Talented kid.
And it's less catchy, I suppose. Anyway, Slater rolls through. Hip toss. Slater will go for the cover. And it's only good for a 1 count. Such is the exuberance, the energy of Lucky Kid. Now it's the more experienced Aslan back in.
And you see from the ring apron, Johnny Moss looks on at Liam Slater with such pride. Taught this young Slater everything he knows.
Slater gets sent to the ropes for the handstand to move out of the way of Aslan. Going to perpendicular ropes there. Slater, there's a cross body. Again, he'll go for the cover, but that's the second or third time that Liam Slater has made a cover without hooking the leg, and I think that's costing him quite dearly.
Well, Moss won't be happy with that. I say he looks on from the ring apron with pride. He'll look on with disdain. You're right, Dave Bradshaw. Slater definitely should have hooked the leg of Aslan.
Liam Slater once more brings his opponent back into his own corner. Moss tagged in. Moss,
Oh,
just with his chest, takes down Aslan.
beast-like power from Moss and threatening Lucky Kid on the ring apron.
Johnny Moss dropping the knee across the eye of Aslan. Again kicks out at 1. The Jungen Löwen determined not to allow themselves to be pinned for any time at all.
And Slater back in yet again, these quick tags from Moss.
And Slater deposited on top of Tarkan Aslan, or rather Lucky Kid I should say. Oh, it is Aslan. I'm getting confused with these two. Aslan sent to the ropes.
I'm not even sure Aslan knows who he is at this point.
There's a back elbow from Aslan. Now it's Lucky Kid. Kid coming in. Just a fire blur of offense, these two. Double hip toss. The knees from Lucky Kid. And the cover after the shot from Aslan. 2 count and a kick out.
Super impressive from this young combination of Tarkan Aslan and Lucky Kid. They work so well together. Well-oiled machine.
Cover by Slater. Again, this one not officially a number 1 contenders match, but you do have to think both of these teams, or in the case of Slater, Moose and Slater, but you still, both of these teams in some form or other have had recent title shots against the War Machine. You can't have everyone on that top of that contenders list, so only one of these 2 teams you've got to think is going to be in line. As Aslan trying to wear down the young Yorkshireman Liam Slater. His fellow Yorkshiremen and women here in Sheffield trying to get him to his feet.
Sheffield firmly behind Liam Slater. They want to see Johnny Moss back in this match in a bad way.
Slater trying to fight his way out of the opposition corner. What a heart from Liam Slater. But Slater gets knocked on 2 sides of the head. With stereo blows from the Jungen Löwen as Lucky Kid gets another 2 count.
And Johnny Moss once in that ring, extending the hand. He's desperate for Liam Slater to reach him.
Slater, the corner. And Lucky Kid with that explosive offense.
You hear the words of encouragement from Moss saying, "Come on, Liam, come on." Oh,
I thought they were going to send Slater back to his own corner. They thought better of it. Send him into their own side, and Slater leaping over the top, goes behind, gets the full Nelson, a variation on the full Nelson slam, and he'll tag in Moss.
there we go.
Moss launching over the top. What agility for the big man.
Moves with such speed, grace, and agility for such a mountainous man, Johnny Moss.
Moss trying to charge at Aslan. Aslan got the elbow into the face. Moss has been sent away, and then, oh God, the missile drop kick from Aslan.
And now Lucky Kid going to the top floor too.
Lucky Kid launching himself. Oh, Moss has caught him. What strength from Johnny Moss. Fall away, Sam. He didn't even fall away.
Well,
he just threw him over his head.
Tarkan Aslan was behind Moss and waiting.
Aslan will go to the ropes. A knee right into the temple.
That took Moss down.
I don't care how big you are, a knee that vicious will take anyone down. As will an uppercut like that from Slater.
All 4 men inside the ring. Referee losing a bit of control here.
So the Kid goes to the ropes, a shoulder roll. These two almost as fast as each other, you feel sometimes.
Lucky Kid off the ropes.
Kid rolls backwards. I think Slater was going to duck. Hang on a second though, Aslan. Oh, Aslan! Slater took his eye off the ball and Aslan leapt at him.
And now it's Kid and Moss left alone. Tarkan Aslan enters the ring. It's 2-on-1 unloaded.
The Jungen Löwen trying to gain the victory here against the Cumbrian Man Mountain. Look at the double team. Moss may be out. They've got to make a cover.
You're right, Bradshaw, but they look as though they have something else in mind.
Yeah, that's right. Johnny Moss is at 6s and 7s here after that flurry of offense from these 2 Germans. Aslan. Oh, Moss fights back. Hits Kid, then Aslan. Kid is trying to pull Aslan away. Oh, hang on, Moss has got both of them. Moss has got both of them. What strength from Johnny Moss.
We have seen that before from Johnny Moss, but it never fails to amaze.
Moss, another German. Folds up Tarkan Aslan.
I think Lucky Kid may suffer the same fate, but no.
Well, Moss went into his own corner, more by luck than design, and it allowed Slater to tag in, but Slater again took his eye off of the ball. There's the German suplex, assisted with the chop, and it's enough! It's enough to Jungen Löwen put away Moss and Slater.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of the match, the Jungen Löwen!
Another impressive win for these Germans, and I tell you, I think Johnny Moss looks like he might be hurt.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Liam Slater rushing over to his mentor's aid. Hard to tell what the injury is. It looks like it's arm related.
I mean, if that's true, that's heartbreak for Moss and Slater. They just cannot catch a break when it comes to injuries. Slater asking for a microphone as...
Can we get someone out here, please, with some ice?
Yeah, Slater asking for medical help. There is a problem here with Johnny Moss.
And Slater very concerned for his mentor's well-being.
This was a risk, all right? You said you were okay, and now your elbow, it's gone again, come on. It happens time and time again. I'm not saying it's your fault, Mossy, I'm really not. The ladder match, everything else, sometimes you're not even here, all right? I care about you and I want you to be safe. But when stuff like this happens, John, I don't think you should be in this ring.
Oh.
I'm not sure.
John!
Oh. Slap from Moss.
That's it! That's what I want to see! I want to see that intensity! That's why I wanted you as a tag team partner, because of that look in your eye. I remember that from the start. John, the next pay-per-view is Refuse to Lose, and I want to see that intensity in your eye. But not as a tag team. I want you in this ring. Me and you refuse to lose.
Oh! Slater slapping Moss back. What a challenge from Liam Slater to his mentor and tag team partner, Johnny Moss. Will Moss accept?
Well, this is a real story we have in our hands.
Yeah, Moss has accepted. Moss has accepted.
Student versus teacher. Johnny Moss mentored Liam Slater from the start of Slater's wrestling career, and now at Refuse to Lose, they go one-on-one.
So we're going to have Moss versus Slater just a week and a half from now, October the 2nd. As you say, Master versus Apprentice, Moss versus Slater.
Every wrestler, every show, every match, Wrestling of Attitude is brimming with everything you loved about the Attitude Era, and it's all hand illustrated by Bob Dahlstrom. It's available now from shop.loveculture. The link is in the description. Just wanted to do an advert! Get it up!
Bald-headed whisker biscuit bitch! Ow, no, it's cold! Don't do that! That's horrible!